Welcome back to Squawk Box, everyone. Right now, we're going to talk about a stock that we've been following closely this week, and that's Boeing. Yesterday on Squawk Box, the head of the FAA told us that the 737 MAX won't be certified to fly before the end of the year. And then this morning, Southwest Airlines, the largest operator of the MAX, said that it has reached a compensation deal with Boeing for some of the financial damages from that grounding. Joining us right now with some new research on whether customers are likely to buy tickets on the plane once it comes back to service is Ron Epstein. He is research analyst at Bank of America. And Ron, who did you talk to? What did you find out?
Yeah, so we surveyed over 2,000 consumers, and we tried to find a base of people that was in line with the flying public. So if you look at Airlines for America, they can give you a baseline of what the flying public looks like. We got a survey of people of that. So out of the 2,000 people we spoke to, one of the big conclusions is there's a long way to get consumer confidence back for this aircraft.
What did they say?
Right.
First of all, how did you ask the question? Because I think I would answer differently depending on the question.
Yeah, so we had actually a very detailed survey. We had many, many different questions. We put some trick questions in there. One of the questions we asked people was, did you fly a MAX in the last 6 months? And if they said yes, we took them out.
Threw them out because you don't know what you're talking about, right?
We were very careful about how we asked the questions. So one of the 20% of the folks that we surveyed believe that the MAX is safe today.
Just 20%?
Just 20%. Another 20%.
That's shockingly low.
Yeah, another 20% said that they would fly the MAX immediately. That means 80% want to wait at least 3 months, and 60% said they want to wait at least 6 months to fly the aircraft. 75% of the people that we surveyed said if they had the option to switch airplanes, they would. Now, I think an interesting point for the airlines is if you look at a following question we asked was, would you pay to switch? Would you pay more to not fly on a MAX? And in that case, only 50% said that
That's a lousy customer proposition.
No,
would I pay to not fly on it, or would I just fly on one of your competitors that doesn't have any of the 737
That's
MAXs?
great question. But what's fascinating is 50% said they would pay not to fly on it. 30% said they wanted to get paid to fly on it. So 80% of consumers basically think a MAX ticket would be worth less than a ticket.
That's also a crazy set of circumstances. I don't think it's safe. I think it might crash. But if you pay me, I'll get on the plane.
But in the end, one of the things that came out of the survey, a question we asked is, what are your points of preference? And ticket price is a big point of preference, right? So it's
not ticket price to live or not.
Right.
It's sort of a very strange phenomenon.
You can't obviously fear and emotion.
It's not logical.
Isn't logical with probabilities, because then none of these people should get in a car today.
Yeah.
It's 10 times more.
Yeah,
even the 737, it's got to be 100 times more riskier to get into an automobile and drive across town than it is to get on a 737 MAX.
Yeah, well, they say, right? I mean, driving to the airport's more dangerous than
Much
actually
more.
flying on an airplane.
Probability-wise, that doesn't help. That doesn't help though when you're, at 30,000 feet and you
and
drop
you don't
a
have
couple.
any control.
Yeah, and you drop a couple of thousand
But
feet.
statistically, that's the case. However, kind of back to the point, what consumers are saying is there's going to be a bit of a rocky period of consumer acceptance.
So
now
let's tie this into today's news that Southwest has actually reached a settlement. The terms are undisclosed, but they do say that they'll be sharing $125 million of that settlement with their employees. The pilots union had been suing. I think the flight attendants union had been considering suing.
Yep.
Is that enough? The plane hasn't been recertified. We don't know when it's going to go back up. And whatever they've been paid, is it going to compensate for the idea that passengers are not going to like this? And are the passengers smart enough to realize that Southwest has the most 737 MAX orders?
Yeah, so good question. I think it depends when the aircraft ultimately goes back into service, right? Why do the pilots want money? Why do the flight attendants want money? Because the airplane wasn't in service for the summer.
Right, and so as a result, they didn't get the overtime.
They didn't get the overtime, so this is compensation for that. If the certification pushes well into next year, and if you look at what the FAA said yesterday, they said into 2020.
Right.
Not early 2020.
Well, that's why I was surprised to see the settlement today, unless we don't know the terms of the settlement. Maybe there's something in it that's a moving scale to say you will get this much additional for every month before, or every week before it is recertified. Maybe that's part of the deal.
Yeah, it's hard to speculate, but it's hard to imagine that something like that wouldn't be there. I mean, it's not certified until it's certified.
What would you advise these airlines to do in a situation like this?
I think they're going to have to be very careful about, back to the survey. The survey clearly said there's consumer concerns over the aircraft, right? So, and another important point to make, about half of the flying public knows what a MAX is.
Right.
Right? About half of the flying public only flies, you look at half of the public only half fly in a year, right? So of those that know what the MAX is, you're going to have to be very careful about the messaging and the branding around the aircraft as the aircraft goes
and
back
not
to
feel
service.
make them feel like you're making them fly on a plane they don't want to fly on.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Very quickly, what does this mean for Boeing?
Yeah. So how the airplane enters back into service, they're going to have to be careful about, and they're going to have to work with their customers on the branding, right? Because ultimately, the branding question goes back to the airlines.